All right. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you. Now, we have lots to cover, but I always like to share a little bit about myself. You're like, who is Stephen? Where does he come from? So this is a picture that I was taken on July 12th. So a few days ago, it was my dad's 85th birthday and my brother-in-law's 63rd birthday. Now, I want you to pay attention to two key players in this is like my mom and dad, because they're the ones that have sourced all of that. But particularly, I want you to focus on the woman who's sitting down at the table. She's wearing like a mauve, kind of purpley kind of outfit. Right now, I want you to look at the woman in the next picture. The woman sitting on the bench on the left-hand side, that's my mom. So when I think about my journey and where does Stephen come from, like most people, I came from my mom. But I came deeply rooted in healthcare. So this is a picture of the leadership team for Evergreen House, which is a long-term care facility at Lionsgate Hospital. So growing up, I would see my mom. My mom was a nurse, and then she worked on the management side at Evergreen House. So growing up in high school, visiting my mom at work, or I forgot my lunch or whatever, I would go in to Evergreen House, and I would hear my mom talking about work. I'd hear my mom, conversing about the things that are challenging and the things that she loves about her work. That's where I really grew up. Now, moving on in healthcare, my journey, I worked at a place now. There may be some gasps, and there may be some clutching of pearls, but this was 25 years ago. But I just want to share the breadth of where I come from. But I worked for the Health Employers Association British Columbia, so HEABC. So I really got to see the inside of how things work in healthcare through that lens as well. And then I moved on. I've worked in numerous healthcare settings, numerous healthcare clinics, and my clinical placement for my doctorate was actually here at the Hassle-Free Clinic in Toronto. And currently, I'm part of a research project that's focusing on the future of dementia care in Canada. So that's really where I'm spending a lot of my time and working with people. But some of the most vivid and meaningful learning that I've had in healthcare has been from my grandfather. So I had moved out of the house and my grandparents came to live with my family in BC. And my grandfather is in late stages of dementia. And so I had real-time, hands-on experiences of care with my grandfather. We're talking the whole 9 yards, the toileting, the bathing, all those things when they needed to be done. My mom wasn't there. I was the one who stood up. So that's my journey in healthcare. That's where I come from. And, over the years, I've studied what attracts people and what repels people from one another. What are those things that silently occur that keep us frustrated, that keep us stuck? And what I found is it's not too different than it is between couples in a relationship, between colleagues and coworkers, or within organizations. And so today, we're going to talk about that. But I want to share a fun story because I want this to be fun. I want this to be enjoyable for you as well. We're going to have some energy. We're going to talk about some heavy things, but we're also going to talk about some things that are enjoyable. So again, I want you to look at the picture that you have there. And again, my mom is on the bench on the left-hand side wearing the blue outfit. So again, everyone looks very proper and having fun. Now, my mom tells the story. She says, Stephen, we're sitting there. We take this picture and the photographer comes and shows us what he's done. And she's like, well, look at me. I have my knee covered by my skirt, but look at my two colleagues. They're showing their knee. So my mom's like, hey, take another picture. I'm going to show my knee too. And then this is all of them laughing and having fun of my mom, having some fun with her colleagues. Because I think there is so much available for us when we do get along with our colleagues. So what can we expect for today? So the first part I'm going to be sharing about why this is important, what's going on, what shows up in those care environments and cause so much challenges for us, and normalize what you're experiencing. Sometimes when I work with caregivers, they feel bad because they're like, well, I always have to be good. I have to do all the things for all the people all the time. You don't. It's my experience. It's not possible as humans. And I'm committed in the second part to give you some real tangible tools that you can implement in your life. Now, I say life, I mean all life. Here we're talking about professional, but by all means, take what you learned today and you can apply that in your personal life as well. We're going to be talking about ways to minimize that stress that you're experiencing and reduce any kind of challenges that you're having in day-to-day life. We're going to begin by looking at the piece of what you can do before. How do you know that things are going sideways, and what you can do about during? How do we have those difficult conversations? And afterwards, how do we check in with ourselves? And we're also going to be approaching it from different aspects. So one could be, hey, your BFF at work. Cool. How do you address something that may be a little bit weird or you want some clarity on? Or what are some difficult conversations that we need to sit down and have with either our colleagues, people that we're leading, or some of our leaders as well? How do we have those conversations? So I'm going to be giving you tools and techniques to implement in your life right away. But as always, this is about you. So have you ever been going home from work and realized that you were exhausted, but not from the actual work, but from the things that happened around the work? This is what I hear from a lot of people. There's the work that can be exhausting. I get that. I'm not taking anything away from that. But it was actually more than that. It was the conversation that you didn't have, or maybe you did have it, it didn't go well, right? It was this email that you got that kind of like hit you the wrong way. It was that person that was avoiding you. It was that conversation that you need to know, or that you need to have with your manager about something that they need to know, but you're not having that conversation. You're scared of having that conversation. You don't know exactly how to approach that. You're pretending you're okay. You're trying to hold everything together. I'm just going to sit with you. There's probably a list of 5 or 6 other things that come for you as well when you start looking at this. So I have a question for you. And in the chat, if you could just drop A, B, C, D, or E. I want to know what drains your energy the most. Is it the interpersonal tension that may be there, the difficult conversations either you're having or not having? Is it those team dynamics? Is it the emotional labor of your work? Or is it E, all the above? If you could just pop that into the chat, that would be fantastic. And then, Zach, I'm going to ask you to let me know, because on my screen, I can't actually see the chat right now. So if you could just let me know if there's A's or B's or C's or D's or E's that are popping up, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we got a wide variety of responses here, Stephen, but a lot of E's, a lot of all of the above. Is in E,
A lot of all the above.
E. Yeah, E.
Yeah. Yeah. And so thank you for sharing that, because that's what I'm hearing again and again. And I'm here to help you lighten that load. Because when we're carrying all that stuff, right, we have those assumptions, we have that resentment that builds, we have that guilt, and sometimes that uncertainty that then gets piled on. Not only are we taking care of our clients, our patients, and everything else at work, but we have all this other crap, excuse my language, that we're walking around with. And what I find is, in the absence of having the conversations, in the absence of actually dealing with the things that are needed to be dealt with, that gets heavier, that gets heavier, and that gets heavier. And it becomes more challenging for us to deal with. And then what we carry is this, what I call this invisible friction. So when you have one of those days where everything is going magical, like the yeses are falling out of the sky. If you drive, you got green lights. Everybody's happy. They compliment you on your eyes or whatever else they notice on you. They're like, oh, well, thank you very much. Work is great. You get compliments. Your leader gives you great feedback. That's amazing. I love those days. But they don't happen all the time. And sometimes those days occur while you just feel like you're walking through mud. And some days you got to walk through mud, but you got to look like you're not, like you're having fun, that you're lit up, that you're excited, like these lovely people in this picture, right? They're all laughing, but we don't know what's happening behind the surface, because beyond the workload, there is that emotional strain and that unspoken tension. So today we're going to dig into that and find that out, because if that doesn't get addressed, often burnout results. And it doesn't begin with exhaustion. It usually ends with exhaustion. What it begins with is that unresolved tension. And what do we do with that? How do we have those things? Because one of the things in working with caregivers that I know is, by default, you are designed, you have given your life to making people feel better. Reduce pain, reduce discomfort, reduce stress, deal with trauma. That is who you are in your essence. And that's what lights me up about getting to work with caregivers. So your whole life, your whole mindset is set towards that. Well, why that can be challenging at times, if there are those difficult, uncomfortable, awkward conversations that need to be had, but your default setting is to make sure everybody's okay. Sometimes we can avoid this, because there could be tension, there could be challenges, there could be upset, there could be people that get their feathers ruffled. So sometimes when I work with caregivers, it's like, oh no, I want to make sure everything's okay, so I'm just going to gloss over it. I'm just going to suppress it. I'm just going to deal with it and put on my mask, put on my armor, and go to work. But here with Care for Caregivers is an opportunity for us to put that down and put some tools in our tool belt so we know how to deal with those and navigate those challenging conversations so they don't get out of control, so less feathers are ruffled. But you have an opportunity to speak truth to what actually is going on for you and check in with other people so you can avoid conflict and you can reduce that tension ahead of time. All right, so I have a question for you. I'm curious about, and if you want to put this in the chat, please put this in the chat. You don't have to, but if you have something to write with and write on, I'm curious for you, what are you carrying today that isn't on your job description? Now, you could write some stuff down, you could put it in the chat, you can just think about it in your head. What are you carrying today that isn't on your job description? Because if you're anything like me, when I first get a job or I get a promotion, I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited and want to take on the world. Now, that may have been a year ago for you. It may have been 2, 5, 10, 20, 30, and so on. That may be a long time ago for you. That bright-eyed, bushy-tailed excitement may have dimmed a little bit. So I'm curious for you. What are you carrying today that isn't on your job description? Okay. So next we have an exercise just to highlight some of the challenges that can be there. Like I said, working in healthcare, we could be like, oh, it's not a big thing. I don't have to deal with it right now. I can just keep moving on. It's all good. It'll get better, blah, 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 blah. But small tension over time equals fatigue. So I'm going to ask everyone, if you can, make a fist with one hand, and I want you to hold that for 30 seconds. Okay, we started. You're just going to hold that fist for 30 seconds. Now, you may think, Stephen, this is ridiculous. I can hold my hand, maybe you're trained as a fighter, so you're used to making a fist, right? But if we hold that, and it's small, it's not even thinking of it. It's like, yeah, I can hold my hand. You could probably hold your hand for a couple minutes. But as we approach that 30-second mark, and just release it, see how much better that felt when you actually released it? Now imagine doing that with two hands, with both feet, with your shoulders and everything else that you do in life. But here's the thing. You don't walk around like that. People can't say, hey, Stephen, why are you walking around with everything clenched up? No. But internally, that tension is there for us. It's very few times when I interact with healthcare providers and ask them how they're doing. They're like, great, I'm super relaxed. I'm so chilled out. Like, everything's great. No, it's not. So these small things that you may think aren't important or aren't a big thing to deal with, today I'm going to invite you to actually take those things on and put some of that down that you're carrying. So I'd like you to think of one conversation, one situation that you've been avoiding. Got that? Now, I want you to get present to what has that avoidance cost you? Because it's often not like when you think about costing, it's not a monetary thing, but it's often peace of mind. It's often, that excitement that you maybe once had. It may be an increased level of like tension or resentment or fear or guilt or, whatever that looks like for you. So as we move into this next part, I invite you to bring that with you. I want you to have that. I want you to take that one conversation, that one situation, and I want you to, as we go into the tools and techniques that are coming up next, I want you to think about how and where and when you can apply some of those techniques. And at the end, we'll have time for some questions and answers, because I'm committed that we find out what's really going on for you, that you're not just taking in this webinar and checking it off or telling someone that you did it, that this actually makes a difference in your life. One of my greatest mentors told me, Stephen, I can guarantee you anything. I was like, oh, or he said, I can guarantee you 100% one thing. And I was like, what's that? He's like, if you don't change anything, nothing changes. If you don't do or take on or try the things that are there, nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to work. So I'm really committed that you take these things and actually put them in your life, because there's a cost for you. And I don't want you to be stuck with that cost for the rest of your working life. Okay, so we're going to talk about different types of conflict, different ways that you can deal with it, and the before, the during, and the after of it all. So the question, or the invitation that I have for you today, rather, is how do you become a connection catalyst? How can you be that person? Now, before your brain goes there, you're going to be like, Stephen, you're going to ask me to do one more thing? You're going to ask me to be one more thing? No. I'm asking you to try this on as a way to have more yeses in your life and have things be easier for you. So what does that look like? Because it's not, again, about avoiding that friction. It's that how do we reduce that unnecessary friction that's there for you? So if you're like, I'm a connection catalyst, and you take some notes, and again, even if there's one thing that you take from today and implement it into your life, I would be thrilled on that. So the first piece is, and this is key, if something's happening for you, if you find yourself elevated, upset, triggered, whatever is going on, pause and breathe. It's overly simple. You may be like, Stephen, but I can't. I'm running around. I got this. I got this. I got this. One of the things that I find the most helpful in these situations is remembering that that time, and this could be a minute. This doesn't have to be a half hour. You don't have to go on a break. But just pausing and doing some deep breathing can often bring some things down for yourself. Bring that elevated state. And then you want to be asking yourself, what's going on for me? And what does this remind me of? Two exceptionally powerful questions. I'll give you an example. For me today, what's going on for me? All right, I'm upset, I'm pissed off, I'm triggered by something. What is actually happening for me right now? So for me, true story, I came home, I was in BC, I'm in Toronto right now. I came home, my sink wouldn't drain. The plumber came, fixed that, but now my sink is leaking. Then I woke up this morning, there was a flood in the upper mechanical room, so there is no water in my place. So no cleaning, no washing, no cooking with water. Then I have people coming over tonight. I need to clean my place. I have suitcases, bags of everything going on. I have a ton of stuff happening right now. And I have this wonderful webinar that I'm prepping for that I need to show up and be like, okay, let's go. For me, I know, is this a good time for me to have this conversation or to deal with this thing? No. There's a lot going on for me in my life. And some of those added stressors that you have going on with outside of work can contribute to an elevated place where you're coming from. So just taking that pause and being like, what's going on for me? The other thing that's really cool is there's two places. There's, okay, what's going on in my life? And then there's developing an awareness of what's going on for me physically. When we talk about learning where that tension shows up and be able to like sense it and be like, oh, I know this. I know if I follow this, this is the direction that it's going. What is going on with your body? Do you have clenched fists? Do you get flush? Do you feel tightness in your chest? Like, what's going on with your belly? There's lots of different places where you can experience this. So pausing, breathing, asking that question of what's going on for me right now. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, I'm pissed off. And I know when I'm pissed off, I need to X, Y, and Z. I need to take some time. I need to take a break. I need to check in. I need to go talk to a colleague. I need to vent, whatever it is that you need to do. The second question, what does this remind me of? This may remind you of what happened last week. This may remind you of something that you experienced in a previous job. This may remind you of a figure that caused challenges in your life growing up as a kid. And sometimes these patterns, we're not even conscious of, like, oh, this is why I'm responding. This is how I'm reacting to this person, because the lens that I'm seeing this person through is based on something in my past. This is getting a little bit deeper into those things, but having that self-awareness, starting to be like, oh, how do I show up? What gets triggered for me? What's going on for me in these situations can really make a difference. So pause, breathe, ask those two questions. The next is to get curious. Curiosity is that thing that can lower defensiveness, and that opens doors to understanding in ways that are amazing and will amaze you. And the two questions here of getting curious, I wonder what's happening for them. I wonder what's going on over there in their world. Just like I shared about what's going on in my world, or the pause of like, hey, what's going on for me? You're aware of like, oh, these are the things that are going on for me. Maybe get curious about what's going on for them in their world. What are they dealing with? What's happening in their life? Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go and be like, tell me what's going on. I want to know all the things and go into therapy mode. You don't have to do that. But just a way of like de-escalating things is like, there could be stuff that's going on for them. Now, this is a good one. What else might be true? If you're anything like me, and 90% of the population, if something happens and we're elevated, we're triggered, we're upset about something, we are not making up nice stories about that person, about the situation in our mind. We can go in some pretty dark, challenging places. I like to call myself sometimes a shower ninja. And that's when I'm in the shower replaying the conversation in my head and be like, well, they said that, and well, that was wrong, and I should have done this, and blah, 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 blah. Some people are like car jujitsu masters, and it's on your way home, driving home, that you're like, yeah, but then they did this, and they said, and why didn't do this, and blah, blah, blah. We are not kind. And we make up stories about what's actually happening when it's actually not based in reality. So again, a way to de-escalate, we're going to pause, we're going to breathe, we're going to ask those two questions, and then we're just get curious for yourself. I wonder what's going on for them. What else may be true? This is something that I apply in my day-to-day life. If I'm driving and some jerkface comes and like cuts me off and is like speeding, I get elevated, right? I'm pissed. I'm like, want to like yell. I want to may throw up some sign language that's not so polite, may use some profanity. And then I go, okay, Stephen, what if that is someone driving their wife to the hospital because they're pregnant? What if there's someone, having a cardiac arrest? What if I just make up a story? I don't know. That person's gone. I'm never going to see them again. But I just make something up. I'm like, what else may be true for that person? And that just brings things down for me. So I just offer that for you as this, like these ways that you can start interacting and interrupting and start implementing things in your life that actually work and that actually make a difference. All right. This is another tool that I have, and this is for someone that you're friendly with, right? It's like your BFF at work, someone that you know, someone that it's easier to have conversations with. And just naming the thing. The thing that I always like to say is respect reality. Like there's something going on here. There's something going on for you. It's important that you honor that. It's important that you give voice to that and bring that thing up. So this is someone who's, close to you, and you could just be like, hey, I've noticed something and I want to check it out with you because I want to make sure we're on the same page and I'm not missing anything. So it just kind of breaks things open a bit and allows for some open dialogue. And that last piece of like, I'm not missing anything is key here. So if you want to take screenshots of this or pictures of this or write this down, please do. Because that piece is self-deprecative, right? It's like, oh, I may have missed the mark, but I want to bring this to you because I want to make sure that you and I are aligned. We're on the same page. And this is something that I've noticed. And being able to sit down and have that conversation, I can't tell you, I like to think I'm an intelligent individual. I'm only one person, one personality. Right? I got some street smarts. I got some book smarts. I got letters after my name. I've written books. I've done lots of interesting things that people will be like, Stephen, you're smart. Guess what? Probably about 60 to 70% of the time, when there's something for me to sit down and talk to someone about, again, someone that I'm familiar with, someone that I could use this technique with, 60 to 7% of the time, I just misread the conversation. I've misread the situation. I was unaware of some background information or what was going on for them. And just allows me to understand. It allows me to have that connection. And that person is often really appreciative of like, hey man, like, thanks for bringing that up to me. Like I didn't, know that was a thing. So it's one of those things, instead of that pull to avoid or to assume you know what's going on or assume about that person and then have that resentment build up. And listen, I'm not perfect. I've been there. We can actually address that. We can go in, we can ask in, lean in and ask what's going on for that person. Because this is one of those times in our lives where there is tension out there. There is conflict out there. bigger than what you're dealing with, what I'm dealing with, what the world is dealing with. And sometimes when we can get overwhelmed or challenged with everything, we can lose sight of how powerful you can be, how you can be that connection catalyst at work by that one conversation and allowing that person to be like, oh, okay, I get it. This is what's going on. All right. So now you may be saying, okay, Stephen, that's cool. If someone that I'm comfortable with and I have some shared experiences, relatedness with, I get that, I could do that. But what about when I don't? What about when it's challenging? What about when I have to give feedback that may be difficult? Maybe I am having a conversation with someone who is, a leader for me. How do I do those things when they're quote unquote maybe more at stake because we're not as close with that person? And that's where I developed what I call the LITA technique. So LITA, and you'll notice that A is to the power of 2, right? A squared, because there's 2 questions that you want to ask. So in the research that I've done over the last 20 years in looking at how people communicate and that silent friction that can build up, again, whether it's everywhere, it's with, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wives, husbands, wives, colleagues, choir members, basketball, baseball, teammates, work people, like it is everywhere. The 2 things that I find most challenging is when we begin a conversation, that person doesn't know where it's coming from. And so they can be like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Their fear response, that defensiveness can show up. And so here, inside of LITA, it's like, how do we set a safe container? How do we set a safe context to have those conversations? The other thing that I find is sometimes when there's something difficult or challenging for us to talk about, we just want to get it out. We just like blurt it out. Like, this is the thing, blah, 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 blah. And it just goes out all over the other person. They're like, what's going on? So with the LITA technique, and especially that last part, is we want to co-create a conversation. We want to invite a person in, similar to what we just talked about, which was a little bit more casual, but this is a little bit more formal. So the LITA technique, and I encourage you to practice this, again, in your professional as well as your personal life, allows you to set a safe container, share what there is for you to share, and then ask them for their thoughts and feedback. So you've probably already been looking at the nice slide that I have there, right? So you first want to share what you like or love about the person or the relationship. Now, again, so we're in working environments, so, we're not going to be like, I love you so much, all right? But it'd be like, I love when we work together. It's so much fun. I really like when you the care that you give to Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, like that's really inspiring, whatever that is for you. But sharing what you like and or love to that person about them or the relationship that you have with them. The I is sharing what's important. So it's like, what are you committed to and why, right? Like, for me, it's important that we have a great relationship and a great working relationship, because I'm committed that you and I can like navigate all the things that this job gives us. So that's why you're having that conversation. So the person listening can be like, oh, like that's really nice. That said like what they really like and love. And now, okay, this is why we're having this conversation, because they want to have a good relationship. And so we can have a good level of teamwork and cohesiveness in dealing with all the things that work throws at us. Okay, great. Now, so you've couched that nice conversation. Now it's about bringing up that topic that you want to discuss. What is that thing that's there for you? And I can be like, oh, Stephen, how do I do this? But because you've set that couch, you can just bring it up. Like, Sarah, I want to talk to you about the incident that happened last week, because I was left not feeling like you had my back. And I want to find out what was going on for you. Are you open to having this conversation? Because I'd really like to hear your ideas and thoughts. So I blended the topic as well as the ask, or e to the power of 2. I'm just going to drink some water. Now you'll notice that a squared, are you open to having this conversation right now? If you're anything like me and someone comes to me and says, hey, Stephen, I really want to have this conversation. Do you have time for this conversation? I really like to, and I say no, and they keep talking, I kind of want to punch them in the throat, right? Now, there's that other piece of like asking that person. So we want to be sensitive to where that person's at. Again, we don't know what's going on in their world. What else may be true? I don't know. They woke up and the dog did their business in the living room. You know, their kid's sick. Their mom is in the hospital. They got whatever, rear-ended on the way to work. I have no idea, but we don't know. So that person may not be in a place to talk. So just that simple ask of like, are you open to having this conversation now? Now, if they say no, again, it's not, oh my God, end of the world. We're never going to have it. Everything's going to fall apart. We're never going to get along. We're never going to work together. I'm going to like have opposite shifts as that person. No. All you say is great. When would be a good time? And I say, oh, well, you know, next week or tomorrow or in an hour or whatever, but set a time where you can have that conversation. And regardless of whether they say yes or they say no when you set up another time, you want to say great, because I really want to hear your thoughts and your ideas. That's that part where we invite that person in. We ask them for we're co-creating that conversation. It's not just that blurt approach where we're just putting it out to the other person, expecting them to like understand what's happening and what the right thing is and how they're supposed to, you know, show up. No, we're just inviting that conversation. So the LITA technique is something that I encourage you to have, practice it, and you will be surprised at what that opens up. You will be surprised how much easier it is to actually have that person aligned with you, sitting side by side, looking at the issue, rather than like that confrontational, like across from another type thing. Is like, oh yeah, this is the stuff that happened. How do we resolve that? How do we through? What was going on for you? How do we put those structures in place? Who do we involve to help us so this doesn't happen again in the future? So the LITA technique, write it down, use it, have fun with it. So the next piece is, so we talked about before, right? Pause, breathe, get curious. That's before. During, we talked about someone who's a more casual, closer connection to you. And then there's that piece about, okay, well, how do we use the LITA technique? That person that is maybe a more challenging conversation to have. Now, after you have these conversations, it's important to check in with yourself, because you want to leave people, and again, here's key, and yourself better. So ask yourself after every interaction, did this person leave feeling seen, heard, and respected? And then the key here is, did I leave feeling the same? Now, one important note here is this isn't about getting it right. I promise you, if you sit down and ask yourself, okay, did this person leave feeling seen, heard, and respected? It's not going to be yeses across the board. It's not going to be yeses every single time. And when you ask yourself that question, it's not. This isn't about getting it right. You're not getting gold stars, but it's about getting it righter. Yeah, not about getting it right. It's about getting it righter. And the more you have these conversations, the more you don't let that stuff build up for you, the easier it gets, the better that you get at it. Like anything that you've taken on in life. You know, the more that you practice, the more that you're in that world of like finding out, okay, does this work? How does this work? What are we looking at? How do we work on this stuff? The better that you're going to get at it. All right, so there is some homework. So I'm just going to give you a few minutes. I know we're almost at 3:45, and I want to leave time for questions and answers. So I want you to write down, if you're on your phone, you have some paper in front of you, what is that thing that you thought about earlier? What's that one relationship? And what is the conversation that you need to have? And what is that one action that you can take? Sending them a message. Next time at work, be like, hey, I'd love to talk to you about this. And it's something that I want actionable this week. Like, you got to take action. We got to move. Remember, my mentor said, hey, Stephen, if you don't change anything, nothing changes. Right? And that's 100% true. If there is something to take on, and I really implore you to do this, to take that thing on. Because, again, you don't know what's possible. And you don't have to do it alone. So I am here for you. Right? There's this webinar. I'm giving this. You may be watching the recording, but I am here for you. And there's some ways that you can get in touch with me. Okay? So one is my email address, stephen@drdewitt.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Stephen DeWitt. We have some time for some Q&A. I'm going to ask Zach to pop on. We're going to have some fun, but I also have a QR code that's there. So if you have your phone, if you scan that QR code, that takes you just to a 3-question survey that I have for you. What's the most important thing that you have? Blah, 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 blah. There's 3 questions. It's really easy. If you could take a few minutes to do that now or at the end of the webinar, I'd be very, very grateful for you for that. And if there's questions now, Zach, I'm going to pass it over to you. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Or if there's some of those questions where you're like, oh, Stephen, like, I don't really want to bring it to the chat because I don't want to be out there, but I need some help navigating that stuff, please email me or just message me on LinkedIn, and I'll be able to go from there. So, Zach, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm going to stop my screen because I want to be able to see you. So I'm going to hit stop share. Okay, so now I'm back. I can see Zach. Awesome. Is it just me that you're seeing now?
Just you that we're seeing. Okay. Thank you so much, Stephen. Yeah, no questions right now. There is still time to get your questions in, either into the chat or the Q&A. Lots of engagement in the chat, though. I think everyone was really enjoying that presentation. So thank you so much, Stephen. While we wait for some questions to come in, I'm just going to take this opportunity to remind you all about some of our upcoming webinars from Care for Caregivers. We have one next week on July 28th on sustainable performance, and then another on August 18th, which is rethinking resilience, lived experience, systems, and practical ways to cope. Again, you can go to careforcaregivers.ca and register for those for free.
Okay. And I'm just scrolling through of, some people that, okay, so I got one new answer providing the space for learning reflection. Thanks, Stephen, moving in the right direction. Yes, they'll copy the slides to reread. Christine, I have an eco stress test on Thursday. My anxiety about it is making it worse, but I know I should not be stressed about it. So Christine, I hope everything goes well, but knowing and actually transforming that stress is different. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I know how to lose weight, right? Move more, put less stuff in my mouth, right? Knowing doesn't make a difference. So my request for you in looking at what you're taking on, right? This stress test that you have is, what are those techniques that you can implement? Just as we talked about techniques today that you can implement in having some of those conversations and reducing that workplace tension. Like, what are some things that, and you may be doing some stuff already, but I would really encourage you of like, I shouldn't be stressed, but I am stressed. Respect the reality. I am stressed. What's going on for me right now? I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my body. And what are those techniques that I can use to kind of just, maybe it's some breathing, maybe it's some meditation, maybe it's, a number of different things that you can take on in that respect. And be able to go from there. So I have a lot of thank you. So you're very, very welcome. I want to check, Zach, because some people just email me when we're on and have questions. Okay, so I got one question. Let me just pop this open. Okay, good. Okay, so obviously this person, requested to remain confidential. Okay. So hi, Stephen. I'm writing you. I want to have a conversation with my manager about a promotion and a raise that I think I'm, let me just read it. Yeah, just that I think I'm entitled to and ready for. They have been pushing off the meeting. What do I do? How do I have this conversation? That's a great question, and something that isn't uncommon in not just care environments, but lots of environments with organizations that I work with. So I think looking at even trying on some of the tools that we talked about today, thinking about, okay, what could be going on for them? Because in our head, again, we're not super nice. We're doing car jujitsu or shower ninjutsu, right? Of like, they don't care. They're trying to rip me off. They're taking advantage of me, blah, blah, blah. If you're anything like me, now you may be like, an evolved human being. I'm not. I have these very human emotions that want to make the other person wrong and make myself right. So maybe just taking out what other things could be going on for them. What's happening in their world? What do I need to get present to? Right. Implementing some of those things. And also, I think that this is a great opportunity for you to try using that LITA technique. And like scheduling something and starting that conversation with leading that is like, I'm just going to make some stuff up. Like, Barb, like, I love working with you and this team. And, I really like the environment that we have. And one of the things that's really important to me is that, I can come and share things, any kind of concerns or worries that I have with you, because I'm committed that you and I have a really great relationship and we can bring that stuff to each other. One of the things that I'd love to talk about is my promotion, my raise. That's something that I had, 6 months ago, and I just wanted to check in with you. Are you open to having that conversation right now? Because I'd really love your thoughts and your feedback on it. Right? Like, use that as a tool. Use that to leverage some of that stuff in your life to actually make it go forward. So that's what I offer to you. But again, take my name, take my email, do all the things, and let me know what's going on. I want to work with you to make sure there's like a big difference, and have it work. So thank you much for reminding myself and tools for everyday stresses. Stephen, please review as in the LITA again. Okay. That's from Stephanie. I'm gonna have a drink of water, Stephanie. Give me 1 second. All right, Stephanie, do you have something to write with and write on? Okay. So the LITA technique is LITA, an acronym, super easy. The L is sharing what you like or love about the person and or the relationship that you have with that person. Now, again, we want to be cognizant that this is a working environment. So you're not confessing your love. This is not the tool to confess your love to someone. Just a footnote there. The I is sharing what's important to you about that person, that relationship, right? It's important that we can come and have conversations about difficult things because, I'm committed that we have a great working relationship together. I'm committed that, we're able to take on and tackle anything that comes our way for the benefit of ourselves and for the benefit of our clients and our patients, right? Something along those lines. So that's the sharing what you like or love, sharing what's important. The T, right, is the topic that you want to bring up, is that issue. It's that challenging thing, but you've couched in a way that that person knows where you're coming from, like as a context, like, okay, this is where Stephanie's coming from in this situation. This is what she values. This is what's important to her. Okay, I don't have to have my dukes up. I'm not fighting her. Cool. You bring up the topic. And then the A is A to the power of 2, or A squared, right? So that's going to be, you want to ask first, are you open to having this conversation right now? If they say no, that's fine. Be like, great, when would be a good time? Then they get to dictate, oh, this time, this week, whatever, in an hour, whatever. You're like, great, thanks so much. I'll come back. I'll reach out to you then. And then the second part is asking them, great, because I really want to hear your thoughts and feedback, your ideas, whatever that is. All right, that's what is what I would offer. That's LITA. So I have from an anonymous attendee, any tips for easing guilt that come up with upholding a boundary? Oh my God, so good. We could do a whole other thing on boundaries. There's 4 distinct aspects of boundaries. One is setting a boundary. One is noticing when a boundary is crossed and then upholding that boundary. And then what are the consequences of that person violating that boundary, right? And each one of those can cause real challenges. So I really love that. So any tips for easing guilt that can come with upholding a boundary? So again, this doesn't surprise me. As a caregiver, we want to give, we want to make things easy, we want to remove and take away any kind of pain or stress or discomfort for people. And then when we actually have to be like, no, this is a boundary for my own, whatever it is, mental health, my own physical health, my own whatever, sometimes it's easy as we're learning these things and we're practicing these techniques to keep them. So my invitation to you is to look back on why it was important for you to set that boundary and what does setting that boundary make available to you. Because it is okay to put yourself first. Now, there's very few audiences that I will say this to. I wholeheartedly feel good about sharing this with caregivers because 99.999% of the time you do not. It is okay to put yourself first. It is healthy, and it is required to be able to set boundaries and keep boundaries. Now, if we look at like, well, where is this guilt coming from? Is that other person now making you feel guilty? Like, I don't know where that is. But if that is the case, I would then ask yourself, like, well, what's going on for that person? Is that someone did I misstep? Did I set a boundary that was outrageous? I would hesitate to guess no. But I always like to kind of run a checklist on myself because, again, in ourselves, we can rationalize, justify, and put ourselves in the best possible position when we're dealing with conflict or having to set boundaries. But sometimes I have a checklist for myself. Was I unreasonable? Was I operating from a place of anger? Was I operating from a place of resentment or retaliation? Am I objectively wrong in this situation? I'd go through that checklist. And then if the answer is no, I'm like, okay, I am more willing, and I invite you to ask a question. I'm more willing to live with discomfort of upholding that boundary and feeling a little bit of guilt than I am with the discomfort of not having that boundary and having that person violate my boundary or do what they did initially that I had to set that boundary from. And then the last thing that I'd offer you is practice. If this is new, if setting boundaries is new for you, it takes practice. And it takes time often to see the benefits of that boundary. Because if someone has violated something and you set a boundary, they're going to try and violate that until they're like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do that to Zach anymore. I can't do that to Sandeep anymore. Oh, I always say we train people how to treat us. And the more that you train people and set healthy boundaries and still are your wonderful self, right? We're not setting boundaries and being a tyrant about the boundary. You're still being your wonderful self, but this is a boundary. We train people how to treat us. Anyways, I could go on and on and on. I want to be responsible. If I have asked my manager to help support you by assigning deadlines, but they still won't do it, how can I help this? External urgency deadlines are so helpful for my ADHD. Great. I know ADHD. I know it well. But they still won't. How can I help this? Get curious. Get curious for them. Couple ways. What's going on for them, right? Which is really generous, but also you can get curious. Use the LITA technique and go to your manager and say, hey, Jeff, I really love working with you. I love being part of this department. And it's really important that, you and I have a really great working relationship. And one of the things with my ADHD that's really helpful is having timelines. And I know I brought that to you, and things haven't developed the way that I'd like them to. Are you open to having this conversation? Because I'd really love to hear your thoughts, because there may be something that's there for you, Jeff, that I don't know about. There may be something there. Just get curious. Come from a place of curiosity. Jeff may be like, he may be like, oh, well, it's not important. I don't want to do this and blah, blah, blah. You need to sort things out. But if you can come from that place of curiosity and genuine interest in like, hey, I asked for this. You said that this hasn't happened. Like, what's the source of it not happening? Rather than it didn't happen, you're a bad person. Get curious about what's underneath that didn't happen. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm going to put this in place. I'm going to write this down. Please check in on me next week for us to actually have it happen. So that's what I would say there. If there are any other questions, please email me, LinkedIn, QR code me. It's now 4:00. Zach, I'm going to pass it over to you.